So hey there, everyone. So I have a lot of questions from our clients all the time. So my industry being real estate, right? People ask me questions all the time about estates and trusts and what they should do to prepare, right? So I wanted you to join me. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So you are DRoberts.
Yeah, Daniel Roberts. We have a law firm in Walnut Creek called Youngman, Roberts, Suen, and we focus on estate planning, tax, trusts.
Yeah.
Anything to do with families and everything that they own.
Yeah. Well, and we have been in real estate here a long time, and we have families that are young, first buying their first homes, right? And they have questions about trusts and, preparing for their future. And then we have lots of clients where they're older and they've been in, their trust for a long time, and they think about making changes and or, adapting their trust. And so I wanted to just introduce you to give them a resource. You're a very good guy to help anyone with their questions in the future. So,
yeah.
So I love that. So what I always love for you to share is give an example of maybe some things that they want to avoid when it comes to trusts. Like, what are some mistakes that you've seen clients make that they can be sure to be aware of and avoid?
Yeah, well, honestly, the worst horror story that I know of happened to a friend of mine. He didn't know that I was an estate attorney. And he had just been really thrifty, shall we say, and had done a DIY estate plan, thinking that he would never, ever get married or have kids. He ended up not getting married, but he did have kids after making an estate plan, and then he died of a heart attack in his I think early 50s, having just had a 3-year-old daughter, and inadvertently struck her from his estate plan, giving everything to his 9 siblings, and just a battle royale ensued. So had he done nothing, it would have been a better outcome for his immediate family than having done kind of a cheap DIY estate plan.
That's so sad. So how often do you recommend families, this is a question I get a lot too from people that are older, how often do you recommend that someone update their trust? Obviously if you have a major life change, right? Homes or children or grandchildren, would that be appropriate?
Yeah. I mean, changes to individual circumstances, definitely update them then. If there are big law changes, there are times we want to revisit. When Prop 19 went into effect just about 3 years ago, we had a lot of people coming and chasing down alternatives to the plans that they had in question. And even when COVID hit, a lot of people started thinking about maybe we needed to take, and this doesn't have anything to do with the trust, but even with our healthcare directives.
Right. Yeah.
That maybe we do want to be intubated, whereas that previously would have been considered a heroic measure to keep somebody alive.
Right.
But
today's world, not so much.
Under that, different medical circumstances. So, it pays attention. I mean, it pays to pay attention.
Yeah.
But outside of major changes in the law or circumstances, every 5 years is probably sufficient.
Okay.
Or 10 years if you're just on cruise control.
Now, do you do a will and trust? Is that or do you just do the trust part?
Yeah, no. So an estate plan.
They go always together.
Yeah, always.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we do is we build out. The trust is the centerpiece, typically for most clients. And then, whereas in years past, the will was a much bigger part of an estate plan, now it's really just saying, I want everything that I own to be held by this trust.
Okay.
And anything that I still end up holding in my name ends up being transferred through the will.
Okay.
So
one question that I wanted to ask, and then of course we would encourage anyone that sees this who has a question to call you, and we'll make sure to leave your information so they can reach out.
Sure, yeah.
If someone were to pass and something that they own, like a home or something, had come out of their trust for whatever reason, like a refinance or whatever, and they were to pass away, what is the negative ramification of that? Like, what are the possible negative consequences of your property not being properly in your trust?
So if it's not in the trust properly and it's a large amount of money, if it's a large value, then it can end up having to be subject to the probate procedure.
Oh, okay, so that's important to know, because just because you have a will doesn't mean that you can avoid probate if your properties aren't in your trust property.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Well, wills by definition are subject to probate.
Right.
Trusts are not.
Okay.
And so if something is held in your name, it could be transferred under the terms of the will, and if the terms of the will say, I want things to pass by my trust, then it'll go through the trust at the end of the day anyway.
Okay.
So you have a lot of means of control.
Yeah. Wow, that's so wonderful. I've been wonderful that you share the information, because, like I said, now my last question that's really important that people ask is, at what age do you recommend a will and trust? Is it immediate when they get married? Is it when you're an adult? Like, when's the best time for someone to meet with you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of grew up with it. In my family, everyone knew about trusts.
Yeah.
So the time I turned 21 or 22, my dad was like, "You got to have your trust."
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have it set up because you own a few things. You don't want your family to have to go through the probate procedure. Let's avoid it. So, if you own things, the exemption amount has just gone up to, I believe, about $750,000.
Okay.
But that's a very new set of laws, so you can actually get by with a simplified probate procedure.
With less than that?
With about 750 or under.
Okay.
But still, that can still be subject to a public proceeding and all that.
Yeah.
But it is a little easier than it used to be.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, because, like I said, our clients need help and they don't know who to turn to. So this gives me a chance to introduce. And like I said, you're a good guy. I think that you're my favorite trust attorney that someone could turn to. So, and I'm Lisa Doyle. I am your East Bay real estate expert. You guys, if you have questions, give us a call, and then we're going to scroll Dan's information on the video.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.